Hello, this is a review for the midterm exam. Like, there's nothing special. It will be a short video just to help you to prepare for the exam. And as I said earlier, as I announced, the exam will be posted on Blackboard at noon on Wednesday. So you can start. You have 24 hours to work on the exam, and like it's up to you when you work. Like you may work at night, whatever you want, and you just need to type your answers as you did in the homework on Word, any word processor you are familiar with, and then send it back to me by the next day within 24 hours. I believe 24 hours is more than enough. So uh, you don't need to worry too much about not sleeping at all or anything. So you have enough time. So make a nice answer. It is a writing intensive course. Make a like formally looking answer and send it back to me. And I will be super general in I'll be generous in grading. So don't worry too much about being wrong, but do your best and just try to so it is not so if you don't understand something you have time to study that, so try to understand what you are doing and like give me the best you can do. So you may use like lecture notes, textbooks, my lecture videos, or whatever materials you can find on the internet, whatever. I'm totally fine with that. This is what, so the reason why allow you to do it this way is because this is what you're going to do in the future in your job. So your boss does not require you to not use textbooks. You may, if there are available resources, you have to utilize them and you have to practice them. You have to practice how to find the information you need and how to efficiently locate what's the information you need and what is the best information you can get, things like that. So it's a skill. I think it's an important skill and becoming more and more important in the future. So I encourage you to utilize materials. But the problem here is you have to understand them. So you have to write your own answers. This is also true in your career. So, like, think about this. Suppose that your boss asks you to do something. You may use any materials, any resources, but of course you have to write your final report. Otherwise, who else is going to write for you? So you have to understand what you are doing and make your own argument. That's what I want you to do in this exam. What I want you to practice in this exam. And there will be three main questions, and each question has three or four sub questions. And there will be I didn't so there will be a total 10 questions, and each question is worth 3 points. So the total possible points maximum is 30. 30 points is the maximum possible. And I'll be very generous. Don't worry too much about uh, the grading, as long as you write something relevant to the answer. Of course, if you do not write anything or write something totally different from the question, then I cannot give you any points. But just like, please let me give you points. That is my basic policy. I will try my best. I will find out every possible uh, point you can get. So please give me a chance. And it will be similar to homework questions, like not the stata question. There'll be, of course, there will be no stata questions. You don't need to use stata, or you don't need to know how to write a code on stata. So it is more like interpretation and like say simple analytic questions or calculations and interpretations. So like predict the outcome or interpret the estimates. What is the t statistic and the p-value, and determine whether you reject the null hypothesis or not. Something like this. Or you need to discuss some basic ideas that we learned in the lecture. So, and as I said, you have time to study if you are not sure how to do them, but you have to have a basic idea where they are and what you are doing, what you need to do. So, so and academic integrity. I would like to say this. So I sent you an email last week about potential cheating, and the reason why the reason I think some students did cheated in the homework was because some students wrote answers in a way that I did not teach in the class. So the answer itself is correct. Answer is correct, but that's not what I taught. So unless you are really good, so I know that, and I think what I taught is much easier than your answering like in as in the answer. So for example, specifically, I explained the degrees of freedom and t statistic, but I did not explain what is the t distribution. So t distribution is another theory, but I did not teach you how to do that. But some students, actually not some, many students are using t distribution in their answers. So I thought they are cheating with each other. So like one student, like maybe the first student must be good at statistics, like taking other classes, and like other students copied the same answers. But I was a little bit surprised by so many emails that I received that students confessed about their behavior. Okay, uh, and I like actually I got more emails than I expected. So so I think so. Here is my policy. So I know that. By the way, I think it's also fine if you use some materials. Like say, I don't know where you guys get those answers, but if you search more carefully, there is a solution manual for this textbook. Maybe there is an official solutions for this textbook. Uh, so what I wanted to tell you is using the solution is fine. I am changing the questions, so you cannot use the solutions directly. So maybe in homework 1, the questions are 100% the same, but as the homework goes on and on, I am going to change the questions a little bit so that you cannot directly apply the solution manual. That is kind of intended. I think if you can understand, so when I was a student, I understand. When I was a student, when I took difficult courses, I have no idea what I do in a homework. Then I need to waste like many hours just to get to a crappy answer. I think it's very inefficient. So even though I did not encourage you, I did not say the that to you, but I think it's okay if you use solutions manual. But the problem here is you have to understand that. Like, so even if the solutions manual uses the t distribution approach, which I did not teach, you don't need to know this. But if you don't know what that is, you should not use that. That's the point. So so later, that's how I was willing to how I was planning to detect the cheating. Like so, if I ask some of you guys to explain what is the t distribution, what is this theory, I did not teach it. So if you cannot explain that, then it's obvious cheating. So that's the problem. Even if you cheat, like even if you copy something, make it yours. Make it yours. So you have to understand the materials, the resources, and and write down your own answer. So even if you have some manual solutions, but still you have to read it and then try to make your own argument. Maybe try to rephrase something and try to fill the gap in the solutions. So try to derive some more algebra by yourself. So this is good for your learning. It'll be more efficient for your learning. So please simply don't copy and paste. That's a waste of your time and a waste of my time and my TA's time. So um, so this time I think I'm not going to punish anyone. I see too many students are honest, and I was positively surprised, and I'm not going to punish anyone, but it will be different in the midterm exam. In the midterm exam, you should not write anything you cannot understand. So you should be able to explain your answer, uh, right? So if you if this kind of thing happens again, then it will be more serious. Okay, so do not cheat. But you may use any resources. That's the point. Use resources. Learn how to use resources. Learn how to make the resources yours. That's important skill. So let me then review. We are covering four chapters. We are covering four chapters from the textbook. The first chapter we consider in the midterm exam is chapter 4 from the textbook, which is the regression with a single regressor. So in my lecture slides, it's number 2. And in this chapter, I'm just telling you the keywords. So as I said, you have time. So if you know what it means, then I think you're fine. Because when you after reading the questions, you have time to study the topic by yourself, as long as you have just basic ideas. Like so. However, if you have no idea, if you have not heard about what is regression, then you are in a big trouble, I think. So, so use this. It is not a review, so it is just a review, a very brief review. But I'm not going to explain them. But it is more about, like, say, contents. So I'm telling you what I did in these slides, so that you can find the relevant topics when you need. So in this slide, I explained the ordinary least squares estimation principle. So we are minimizing the squared, the sum of squared residuals, which measures the total amount of prediction errors. So that was how we obtain. That's what Stata calculates for you. And then we learned how to interpret the intercept and the slope, and how to predict the outcome, and how to calculate the residuals. So it's pretty simple if you have the estimates. And then after that, R squared and the standard error of the regression standard error of the regression SER measure the goodness of fit. How good the model fits the data. How good the model explains the outcome. So you need to understand what this means and what this means and how they are computed, how they are interpreted. And also I mentioned 3 required assumptions for the least squares estimator to be interpreted as a causal effect. So you don't need to know the mathematical notation or definitions, but just need to understand what is going on and the basic mechanism of the regression model. Okay. So in the next slide, slide number 3, this slide is about regression model with a single regressor for hypothesis testing and confidence interval. So it's about statistical inference. The starting point of statistical inference is the sampling distribution. So sampling distribution, here is the sampling distribution is approximately normal if the sample size is large enough. This is the key fundamental theorem. And here I did not use, so if you learned what is the T distribution replaces the normal distribution, but I did not use the T distribution at all. So, um, so your estimator is approximately normally distributed as long as the sample size is large enough. Like say simply more than 100 or like 50. It depends. There is no scientific threshold, but I would say 100 would be considered large enough. So approximation to normal distribution is good enough. And then you need to learn what is the t statistic and what is the p-value. So t statistic and p-value, especially the p-value, it is very difficult to uh, explain the intuition behind it. So when I teach 320, I spend like about nearly 2 weeks to explain the idea behind p-value. So uh, so maybe it is a good time to think about reviewing your 320 or other introductory statistics materials. So you have to remind yourself of how you calculated this t-statistic and the p-value and what they mean, how they are interpreted. Uh, so more introductory statistics materials would be more helpful. So also you need to know how to reject the null hypothesis when you have a specific null hypothesis. And then closely related to the hypothesis testing is the confidence interval. So also you need to know how to calculate the confidence interval. Of course, here and here you need to think about the significance level and confidence level. When we change the significance or confidence levels, then you are going to have different results. So, but we are using 5%, which is the standard. So I'm not going outside of 5%, but yeah. So I will use 5% in the exam. But when you study, you need to understand what they mean. And finally, heteroscedasticity and robust standard error. So so also you don't need to know the mathematical equations, but you just have a simple idea what is heteroscedasticity, and 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 so like heteroscedasticity is the reason why we have to use robust standard errors. And in Stata, we are using robust standard error option in most cases. So the reason is the heteroscedasticity. Okay, and in slide 4, we move to multiple regressors case, but idea is the same. Like so, all the mechanisms are pretty much the same. But when you have multiple regressors, now you have to think about the relationship among the regressors. What happens if you do not include some regressors, or what happens if if they are related in a certain way, and how the interpretation changes. So the motivation of using multiple regressors, even if you are interested in only one variable, is the omitted variable bias. So even if you are interested in only one, say student-to-teacher ratio variable, still you need to include more variables, more control variables. Otherwise, your estimates will suffer from the omitted variable bias. So, and we can guess how the omitted variable bias will happen. Like so, the sign of the bias can be guessed. And then when you have multiple regressors, the interpretation of the slope should be in the ceteris paribus setup. So holding all the other variables fixed, you have to think about the effect of a certain variable. And then we also considered an updated version of r squared. So we call that adjusted r squared. Simply speaking, simple like without the adjustment, r squared increases no matter what happens uh, when you add like so. So the r squared without adjustment increases whenever you add any variable, even if the variable is meaningless or has no like a relationship with any of the anything in the model. Still, r squared will increase, which is a problem. So then just you may just throw in any garbage variables, still you get a better r squared, which is not good. So r squared is a little bit adjusted to 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 fix this problem. And the next topic we learned is multicollinearity. Multicollinearity is like is the relationship among the regressors, and the extreme or simple example of multicollinearity is to use same variables again, or when you fix some of the variables, the other variable have no remaining variation, right? So if you know the other variables, like say if you know that someone is not female, then automatically he's male. So then the female variable and male variable have the same information. Basically, they are the same variable, but so you cannot use them uh, at the same time. If you use them at the same time, it's like you are using same variables twice, which is not working. So this is the multicollinearity uh, problem, and it arises typically when you have dummy variables. And so when you use dummy variables, then you have to be careful in your interpretation. So you have to drop one of the groups, and your interpretation can change according to your setup, what you drop and what model you are estimating. And slide 5 is hypothesis testing and confidence interval for multiple regressors case. But the idea is, even if I explain the idea of F statistic joint confidence set, but these things are not easy to calculate by hand. So Stata computer can do them easily, but the main ideas are not much different. So think about how to apply hypothesis testing for a single coefficient. So for a single coefficient, and especially get used to this term, statistical significance. This phrase is very common. It's very common to say that this variable is statistically significant, or that is not statistically significant. So statistical significance, the term is pretty common term. So you need to understand what is the definition of statistical significance when you can say a variable is statistically significant. And then I explain F statistic, and it follows a chi-square distribution. The sampling distribution is chi-square, and we may conduct the joint hypothesis testing using by contrasting the restricted model and unrestricted model. You just need to understand the basic ideas, and also the basic idea of confidence sets. So you cannot it is not easy to calculate them. So you only need to understand their basic mechanism. And finally, of course, you need to know how to read regression results. And I believe you can do this because we practiced how to make a regression result in the homework. Okay, and so this is it. This is the end of the review. We are considering 4 slides, and you have done well. If you have if you have followed so far. And the office hours before the exams are, as usual, Tuesday and Wednesday, 10 to 11. But still, some students may not understand how it works. I, so far, no student, no student from this course have 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 stopped by in the office hours. Good for me. It's good for me, but I'm wondering how you are doing. So feel free to stop by. So Tuesday office hours are listed on this course, 420, but Wednesday office hours are listed in another course that I teach this semester. But I realized that I could not. The Blackboard does not allow me to use the same Zoom meeting for two courses. So you may use the Tuesday one, but if you cannot make the Tuesday one, send me an email. We can meet on Wednesday or anytime if you and I have common availability. We can do the office hours uh, like on alternative time. But the potential problem here is that tomorrow I'm recording this on Sunday night, and like tomorrow I have to get the second shot. And I heard from many people that the second shot has serious side effects, like like uh like like I don't know. So I hope I hope I'm okay, but if I don't know how much it hurts, how sick I'll be, it depends. So it's a good idea to email me if or remind me of your coming. Otherwise, I may just lie in bed. Okay, this is it. If you have any questions about the midterm exam, let me know. And I don't I think you must be in a good shape if you have watched all the videos. Hopefully. Okay, let me know any questions or any suggestions, anything. So and have a good luck in the exam. See you.